Welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show. As always, alongside me, Dolphin Paul. I'm Scott Cray. DP, what's happening?
What's going on?
Need to drink something.
What's going on after like a week off? I think we took a week off or so.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on, too. I mean, we've got plenty of sports to talk about. I'm reading the paper just before we start this show, and I'm reading about this guy. Did you hear about this?
I don't know.
The wheelchair bound. I know. Did you hear about the guy? The wheelchair. The guy was in a wheelchair, got snagged up on the front of a semi, and got dragged. You must have heard about this because I'm hardly telling the story.
I did.
What is the scoop with this? The guy's wheelchair got
Excuse me, my nose is itchy.
Got snagged on the front of the semi, and the semi got on the highway, and they said up to like 60 miles an hour.
I mean, we certainly don't want to offend any, the handicappers.
What happened with this? This is the first time I've seen this.
This is just a number. I think if this kid played the Powerball for the rest of his 2 lifetimes, he'd have a much better chance of getting half the numbers than he would of a semi locking onto a wheelchair.
So he got caught up.
This is a true story for those folks who really haven't heard it. He was crossing the street, tractor trailer came around the corner, locked onto the wheelchair, went onto the highway about 5 miles. People are calling 911, I guess.
Yeah, other truckers were calling in on their radio and saying, "You got to do it."
What do you call that in CB lingo? Hey, you got a smoky on you. I mean, is that a 944 or 925? What do you call that in lingo?
I'm looking it up here, and apparently this guy logged in like up to 60 miles an hour on the highway. And the trucks were calling in saying on the radio, "Hey, you got a man in a wheelchair stuck in the front of your semi." And the guy ended up okay. There was nothing wrong with him.
What are the chances? I mean, that is just unbelievable that a semi could lock onto a wheel. If I was the manufacturer of that wheelchair company,
keep it around.
I mean, no, you wouldn't talk about advertisement. Our wheelchairs are the toughest around, and show the kid going down the highway.
And it was one of those electronic wheelchairs. It wasn't like a push wheelchair, but yeah,
I don't mean to laugh at
5 miles. 5 miles.
They asked the poor kid after.
Ben Carpenter, 22 years old of Alamo, who's been in a wheelchair for 8 years, got caught up on a semi around 4 p.m. and got pushed
Rush hour.
on the truck's grill. He got, and they're showing like the EMTs pulling him off the grill once they stopped. This is crazy.
I feel bad because
unable to hear Carpenter's cries for help over the hum. Over the hum of the diesel engine.
That's what happened. They interviewed the poor kid after, and he said, "I said help," but unfortunately, with the I don't think they could hear the help.
I know Frenchie's trying to say something. The speaker's not connected, so I'm not sure what he was saying. But yeah, I mean, imagine driving down the hill and seeing this guy.
I mean, and unfortunately, they found like his face covered with mosquitoes and all kinds of bugs and stuff like that because he didn't have a flat. The cop pulled up beside him and said, "Hey, pull over."
Oh, man, we got to talk sports.
Hey, pull over.
How did this even come up? It was the last thing I saw. I was looking at it in the paper while we were getting set up.
The chances,
you're right. The dude ought to play the lottery.
The chances of that, it's not like anybody placed the wheelchair there. It was a freak accident.
It got snagged up.
I mean, if you catch it at an angle, you roll that wheelchair over, and the poor kid obviously is not with us.
Right.
But to lock it on and go on.
Now, did he get locked above the ground or he rolled?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
because I'm not sure. It looked from the pictures when the EMTs were there trying to pull him off. He was facing forward.
Oh, so yeah, he was definitely facing forward. It got logged
so he must have just rolled.
But I don't know if it rolled or if his... because I think the rubber would burn out, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, I wonder if the trucker would replace the wheels on the wheelchair.
Breaker 19, breaker 19. That is unbelievable.
All right, we have to talk sports. This is a sports show after all. And no matter where you go, you read the paper, you listen to the radio, woe is Red Sox Nation. The Red Sox are falling apart. Still got a 9.5 game lead for crying out loud. The Yankees, at the time we're shooting, Yankees have won, I believe, 6 in a row. And the Red Sox just recently dropped 3 out of 4 in their last road trip and have lost a total of like 7 out of 8, I believe. So, the seesaw goes, but we had such a pad that even 9.5 games is ridiculous. People are up in arms that they've lost a 5-game lead over a second-place team, but what the heck?
If Paul Revere was around today, what do you think he'd be saying? I just made this up, by the way.
I don't know. What would he be
The
saying?
Yankees are coming. The Yankees are coming. No?
Cue crickets. Anyway, so what's your position on this whole thing? I mean, are the Red Sox falling apart and this is the end?
I've said all along it's a very long season, and you know the Yankees have a lineup, and you've got guys like Bobby Abreu who are now starting to come around, and with that lineup, you knew it was,
it's a bit of a switch off too. Abreu's on, and now Giambi out after having an injury. So, I mean, it's kind of a trade-off because Giambi certainly puts up good numbers.
The Yankees are still a good team, obviously, and everybody talked about the Red Sox. They weren't built for a losing streak. But again, I know we joke around with the long season, but 162 games. I think any team is built for a losing streak. And by the way,
62 down. As of right now, the Red Sox sport 40-22 record. Right, so still 100 games to go.
That's more than a third. Yeah, it's still 100 games to go. And, now, I don't think the Red Sox are built to lose like 18 out of 20 because their pitching is too good.
Right.
But, they had a bad stretch where they went out on the West Coast, and we all know about the travel and the Sunday night game.
They had that Sunday night game. They arrived in Oakland at like 5 in the morning.
Even the manager said that was kind of a
And they were in that game, too. They were in that game.
Yeah, that first game they played, it was pretty good. But, even they're built to have a losing streak. And they got flaws like other teams, and we'll probably talk about those. But the Yankees are right in it with the wild card, but...
still plenty of time to play yet. Now,
the Red Sox certainly have the upper hand. Even 9.5, even now.
9.5 game lead is pretty darn good. You look at the rest of baseball, Cleveland's got a 1-game lead. LA has a 4-game lead. New York, 2.5 games. Milwaukee, 5.5. And San Diego actually tied with Arizona. There's no one around that has that kind of lead, like 9.5 games. In the AL East, which is a tough division.
There's still 18 games over 500.
Yes.
The one question I have about the Sox is the competition. I'm not gonna say the competition they've played, but against the better teams, they've not fared as well as they did against the Sisters of the Port, if you will.
Right.
But still, there's still 40-22s. They're 4-6, where the Yankees are 8-2. Yankees have won 6 in a row, and the Red Sox, they lost their last game, but they still got a tremendous record. But the situation certainly does bear watching. If they get it down to like 5 or 4 before the All-Star break, you're talking a whole new ball game here, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. A 5-game lead over an opposing team is pretty darn good still.
Well, at the All-Star break, it's pretty good, but it's not 14 or 13 or 12.
Right. No, you're right.
There's no doubt that some sort of panic will set in. Then Red Sox fans will start to sweat a little bit because, the Yankees now. Roger came back. Roger the Pig.
And did pretty well.
He had a pretty good first outing. I'll give him that. I want to see a few more outings before I'm going to eat crow.
Went 6 innings, struck out 7. I believe gave up 3 earned runs. I'll tell you in a sec. Yep, 6 innings, got the win.
This is high tech here on It's a Sports Show.
3 earned runs, not bad.
Bam! Information
right
in.
I can't wait to see his second start because this is not the case. He wasn't injured. When someone comes back from the DL, that first game, lights out. Jason Schmidt from the Giants is a good example. That second game, all the nerves come back down. So we'll see who Clemens faces in that second outing and see if he's going to
Well, he didn't play a great team, but, in fairness to him, it's kind of a no-win situation. But
Subway Series, the 15th against the Mets. That's his next start. Mets, a very good team, so this should be interesting to see what he does.
Absolutely. And, again, he's going to help them, but, again, I still maintain he's going to help them marginally. I just don't believe it. I just don't. I'm sticking with it.
Okay, well.
He's got like 20 starts. He won his first one. I said he wouldn't win 10.
And that's what a lot of people say.
I don't think he's going to win 10.
A lot of people placed him around 10, Yeah. And will that be enough to help the Yankees out? Who knows? Now, one thing about the Red Sox on a small losing bit right now, Red Sox fans finally have something to complain about again, which they love to do. And on the hot stove at this point is Julio Lugo. For starters, we'll talk about him. This team did very well with Lugo not playing very well. Because let's face it, he had a good first 2 weeks of the season, hasn't done anything since. Take a look at Lugo's numbers. In 239 at-bats, 29 runs, 34 ribbies, a .213 average, despite the fact that I believe he's...
I guess this is old news now. We'll get rid of that.
I'll give you whatever you need, baby.
Wow.
17 steals. I saw a stat 2 days ago. I believe he's second in the league for steals. Problem is, you can't steal first. It's the old adage. And with a .213 average, come on. So what do we do with Lugo at this point?
Well, there's a big question with him and Crisp are the two big guys that, Crisp is just.
And let's not forget about Drew. I know he's been on a tear the past 3 games,
Crisp
but
is
it's only
stuck in
been
a big
3
slump.
games.
Lugo is not helping you, especially at the top of the order. There's talk of changing everybody.
Well, that Lugo Crisp back-to-back is not a good idea, is it?
Oh, I don't think so, no, because that's like a National League game now. If you go him and, that's like facing a couple of pitchers, really.
Right. It's 2 easy outs.
So, they're going to have to figure this thing out. Francona's very patient with these guys. He lets it play out.
A.K.A. Dustin Pedroia.
A.K.A. Dustin Pedroia.
Perfect example.
Many people believe Drew will bat his way out of this. We'll see.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty good track record, but so does Coco Crisp. So there was even talk today on sports radio about maybe Ken Griffey for Lugo, Crisp.
There's a lot to be worried about with bringing someone like Griffey in, though.
Actually, I'm saying not for Lugo, for Tavares, the pitcher.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. Out Lugo. That wouldn't make any sense. And I guess from all reports, and we haven't confirmed this, Griffey is saying that Boston might be a team that he's not interested in coming to.
Right.
I don't know for what reason that is, because we just heard the information, so we don't have time to get our staff on it and research it right away. So.
Naturally. But, Lugo has been a problem for the most part all year, but nobody paid attention to it because they were winning just fine. Yeah. Now they're not, and supposedly he's suffering.
As anything else, just like jobs and business and baseball, when things go bad, you have to start analyzing things. And when you lose a few games, you have to analyze that. 213 is just not going to cut it.
Right.
Even with Crisp at the bottom of the order, that's just not going to cut it.
I'm shocked with the amount of steals that he has, considering.
Yeah, but Boston's not a big base stealing team anyway.
They can be with Lugo and Crisp on
And Tavares is an interesting thing. Most people feel that he's at the peak of his tradability.
That's possible. And you got Lester just got optioned up to AAA.
I'm not saying Tavares is a Royal, but are we going back to this Arroyo thing? I'll tell you what, I don't like to give up pitching. I really don't. And Griffey hasn't played a full season since like 99.
Right.
Or 150 games, actually, I think is what I heard, since 1999.
Yeah, he's a big injury risk.
And he's 37 years old. He's a great name, Ken Griffey, of course.
And you'd have to put him in right and Drew in center. How do you feel about J.D. Drew playing center field? As injury-prone as Drew is. Can you imagine Drew and Griffey going on the DL at the same time?
I think what you have to do is not panic at this point. I think you let this thing play out up to the All-Star break. The Yankees are going to do something. I think you can analyze things then. But Tavares, his ERA is not great, but he's been giving the team some solid innings. It's true he hasn't gone past, 5-6 innings most of the time. But I think for a fifth starter, he's doing well. And John Lester's still rehabbing.
Right.
They're not unsure what to do with him. But
the Red Sox have stated today that they are taking their time with Lester. They just optioned him up to AAA. They do not have a timetable for his Major League Baseball return.
Yeah, because he can stay there and get plenty of work, plenty of starts. And they still got Okajima, the lefty. So I don't know. To tell you what, the guy who's worrying me is Wakefield.
Yeah.
Now supposedly he met with. I'm going to screw this up. I think it was Candiotti. And they started talking about...
Old school Candiotti?
Yeah, they started talking about the knuckleball. And Candiotti said, I used to throw it this way. And supposedly, when Wakefield grabbed that, he started throwing a lot of strikes. So it'll be interesting to see as we tape the show on Tuesday night what start he gives the Sox. But he's, do you put him in a bullpen or in a long relief role? And you bring Lester up?
So unpredictable.
Those are the questions, right?
He's so unpredictable. And it's not him that's unpredictable. It's his ball. With what he throws, some days it works and some days it doesn't.
His balls are unpredictable. Baseball. There's no doubt about that. Before we go on, can we just give a shout out?
This should be good.
No. This is actually nothing funny.
I'm going to give
a shout out to Kurt Schilling, who missed a no-hitter by
one out.
One out. That was unbelievable. I was stuck to the TVs. I'm sure a lot of Red Sox. I was feeling it. One more out. That's unbelievable. What a great effort by him. And he's better than Wakefield, but he's kind of like sometimes you don't know.
Come on. Of course he's better than Wakefield.
No, all I'm making a comparison is lately you're not sure what you're going to get with Schill. You get a real good outing.
He's responded well the last couple of outings, though. You know what I mean? After he got his ass whooped.
I'm just saying he's somewhat unpredictable. He's not dominant all the time.
Schilling's in a contract year, and he's no dummy. He's his own agent. He knows he has to put up crazy numbers to get that payday that he wants to get. The Red Sox probably won't give it to him, but somebody most definitely will somewhere in baseball. Who knows? Maybe a team like Arizona will be looking to get him back.
That was a great outing, and it's unfortunate because it would have been a great story if he had another. He's never had one.
I know. I was going to say that. It's amazing, as good and crisp as he's always been. He's never had a no-hitter. I believe this is his third one-hitter.
Yeah, but I'm sure none of them have come down to the last out. And
True.
You could see after the game he was kind of hyperventilating. He was still on a high.
It's pretty cool, though, and a lot of people have already said this, and I'm going to repeat it. He maintained his composure and got that last out right away.
Yeah. Well, it was only a 1-0 game, so
right.
I mean,
he had a lot to fight for at that point.
What a shame that would have been if they gave up the lead and lost that game.
You see it so many times that somebody's got a no-hitter going into like the 7th. They finally give up the first hit, and next thing you know, they implode,
Floodgates.
and that's the end of it. So Lugo, we talked about a little bit. How about J.D. Drew? His bat's finally coming around. How long has he got to be swinging a hot bat in order for us to all say, all right, good, we can breathe easy again. J.D. Drew's worth the money as long as he stays healthy?
Well, I'm looking at his stats. I know I don't have the computer here, but he's batting 244. I mean, this guy's getting paid a lot of money. So I expect big things from him, and
let's see what he's been doing lately. He went on a stretch. He went 0 for 1 in his last outing. I think he was used as a pinch hitter.
I apologize to the viewers and to you, but I just thought of something.
Uh-oh.
There was also talk about another outfielder coming to Boston, and it just
maybe this was what Frenchie was talking about before the game.
So, again, we're unsure. Somebody, it's good, but again, this just happened.
Who is it?
Well, there was talk of maybe Ichiro coming to Boston.
From Seattle.
Maybe he was the one who said he didn't want to go to Boston. I don't know. So it's either Ichiro or Griffey, and probably
talk about a leadoff guy.
And the minute we leave the show, we'll probably find out who it was. But Ichiro's numbers don't make sense because next year he's probably talking. Probably talking $20 million a year for him. I believe he's on a contract here also. So.
Might be worthwhile though.
Wow. I mean, have Ichiro in the lineup? Are you kidding me? Absolutely. I mean, he's one of the best baseball players in
Ichiro, 48 runs, 33 ribbies, 17 steals as well. But the big difference, a .337 average.
He'd be unbelievable, even as a free agent. But he could also be the guy who said he doesn't want to come to Boston, maybe with all the Asian hoopla. I don't know. So probably either him or Griffey.
Asian hoopla. Can you define what? Because we have, viewers on YouTube. Cheap plug, by the way. IASS on YouTube.com, as you see on the graphic.
Well, we have the Asian influence with Matsusaka and Okajima, and maybe there's a little too much hoopla for him. Don't try to pin me into a corner, pal.
Wait a see. First you talk about handicapped individuals. Now you call them
You know why I'm pumped and jacked, baby? Because baseball fans, this is a warning. In 6 weeks, approximately, it's all NFL. Trent Green era is going to begin in Miami.
How much time do we have? We have plenty of time because we got to touch base with the Dolphins finally landing Trent Green.
Well, we got the Patriots minicamp too. We'll go to the last few minutes of the show.
Up with our
I'm not
Red
trying to intrude.
Yeah,
we're still baseball season. I'm just saying it's coming. The football flavor, and believe me, I want to enjoy this time. I'm not really. I don't want to talk football. Believe
not
it or
too
not.
early.
Not too early.
I want to talk about 2 other things.
NBA, NHL, Anaheim Mighty Ducks winning those.
It's amazing that the NBA is in the championship playoffs right now. And there is no one talking about it. There is more people talking about the Red Sox and their demise or the Yankees and their success than there is NBA talk. And same thing with the NHL. They just wrapped up, believe it or not, in June, their Stanley Cup playoffs. I'll bet you if you ask half of sports fans, they probably don't even know who the heck won.
Yeah.
They had the NHL playoffs in June in Anaheim, for Christ's sakes. No kidding, no one's watching. I mean, this is hockey.
And the NBA playoffs, it's got a little bit of star power in our boy Tim Duncan. I mean, talk about the fortunes of a franchise. I know we talked about this before, and I don't want to get on an NBA thing, but Tim Duncan, it was on a dynasty, basically. Yep. And you got LeBron James on the other side.
Hot, but the only people around him.
That playoff performance when he scored 25 of the last 29, I mean, he's elevating himself to greatness. I mean, that's when the very good players go to the great players, a la Michael Jordan. If you surround him with some talent, boy.
Well, they have some decent talent,
they do.
But they're really young right now.
San Antonio's tough. San Antonio's tough. They play D.
That's what everybody's saying.
As we speak, it's 2-0. By the time people see the show, it'll be 2-1 or 3-0 as they play tonight.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. But I just, I agree with you.
I mean, what's going on with, is it, for basketball, first, we'll talk hockey in a sec. For basketball, is this area hurting because it's the
There's
Celtics?
no doubt.
Or is it a nationwide thing like it is in hockey?
Well, this area's hurting, and I think as a nation, basketball is just not what it used to be. I mean, it's just, we're probably biased because of the era we grew up in or are still growing up in. I mean,
Right.
we're not that old, but, the Bird, Magic,
McHale
Jordan.
and all those guys, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because we're biased and it's the Celtics. Maybe San Antonio's saying, "Oh, screw the Celtics and Lakers." We watched those guys for years, but it's just I don't know. It just doesn't have that same flavor.
People were
maybe in a
complaining
couple
when
years with LeBron James and maybe when Greg Oden, another.
Well, I remember
Celtic.
when the Bulls and Michael Jordan were doing it left and right, and they had their dynasty. People were complaining that the NBA stunk because they were the only team that was good.
Yeah, but Michael Jordan, you wanted to tune in just to see Michael Jordan.
True.
An NBA game, you never knew what he was going to do.
And LeBron's got that too. He's got that very
LeBron
finesse.
does. I'll tell you what, if the Cavs can make a series out of this, and I don't know if they can take it to the distance, if they get it to 2-2, let's say, you know what? I think you'll see a little more interest. I'd be kind of interested. I'm not going to watch every minute, but
Right.
Let's say they go to Game 7, San Antonio and Cleveland. That'd be pretty interesting with
Right.
LeBron James and
Yeah, it would be.
and Duncan and what's his name, Tony Parkey there, or who's married to Eva Longoria, or is going to marry Eva Longoria.
I think they're married
or
now.
Is,
We'll have to check
is,
with our
is-
gossip columnist,
or he
Jen.
sleeps with Eva Longoria. Something with Eva
No
Longoria.
matter how you say it, it's with her. It's
No matter
okay
how
with
you
me.
cut it, the boy's doing all right.
Hockey. The last thing I heard about hockey was Stanley Cup playoffs are over.
Wayne Gretzky got traded?
Yeah, imagine that. He's still playing probably. What to do with hockey, and this person on sports radio said something drastic has to be done, like the dropping of a quarter of the entire league completely. And I don't know if it needs to be that drastic. I don't even know enough about the sport over the past couple of years to even comment on it for the most part, but no one is interested in hockey. I mean, their ratings on, I believe it was NBC, were the worst ratings in history for them. That includes TV shows, not just sports. So that's saying what's going on. Now, of course, in Ottawa, they probably got some decent ratings, not as good as they'd probably expect, but hockey's just not happening.
In Canada, there's no more power teams like the Canadians anymore. So and I believe a Canadian team hasn't won in X amount of years. It's
Right.
been, but that's over the border.
So you wonder if they're losing interest because of
yeah,
that.
that's kind of over the border, and I don't know. I just don't know if it's a great TV sport. That's the bottom line. Now, from a local interest, if the Bruins were good, we'd be watching it, but somebody else wouldn't be watching it. So I think overall, I don't know, because the puck is so quick and people can't follow it.
And people say they can't follow the players because they all look the same. One person went to the point of saying they should take their helmets off.
Well,
and play
yeah,
that
right.
way.
There's no identifiable stars per se because they all look like they're 6'4". They all got helmets and visors.
Right.
So with the old days, they used to fly around with their
Oh,
hair.
yeah,
and
you know who was who.
Guy Lafleur and those guys flying down, but I don't know. I myself, I like the European style, like more wide open.
Yep.
I hate to see, tight check-in games. It's a little different than like a football defensive game. I love the wide open, big ice. I think they've gone in the right directions, but I don't know.
More work needs to be done.
Well,
I mean, there are hockey fans out there. And
what
the
can
ones
you do,
talk
though?
to, they're diehard hockey fans.
Yeah.
And they'll stick up for the sport,
Hockey's
but they're
still
far
a
and
great
few in
sport,
between.
but I just, it's like soccer. I just don't know if it's going to ever appeal to
Wait,
the masses.
you're Portuguese.
Yeah.
You must love soccer.
Oh, I do, but
But you're smart enough to know that.
Well, in America, I just don't think it's ever going to appeal to the masses because in America, there's a lot of different sports. I know we're kind of flying off the handle here, but
Fast action sports like football.
we talked about that before. Like you said, when they stay in their own countries and get their own money.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But no, I think I think baseball and football, I just gonna reign for a long time, especially football because it's not because I like the sport.
It's a much faster sport.
There's a lot of gambling involved too in football, and I mean we talked about this before. Every week there's an event.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. And baseball is American pastime. And as long as the Red Sox and Yankees are good, everybody knows that's a rivalry across the country. I mean, you watch Red Sox games. I have never seen so many Red Sox fans in opposing stadiums.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear chants throughout the game,
All the way out in Oakland.
wherever they are. Let's go
Yeah.
Red Sox. And you're like, what are they
You
saying?
name it.
Are they saying Oakland?
Baltimore, Toronto.
It's
everywhere you go.
unbelievable.
Florida.
Number one, because people travel and watch baseball, and the Red Sox, they're a hot ticket to get in Boston. So you can go to Toronto or other places and get tickets real cheap. So
How do you like that? Special cup of water from Jen. Is that water, Jen?
Yeah, we thought he was gagging.
Aw, you gagging.
Thank you so much.
People don't see what goes on off the set, and I tried to be unobtrusive about it. Are you sure it's water?
I don't know. I'm just smelling.
Aw, Jen cares about you.
Jen, I love you, Jen.
Best Dawn water you ever had, says the
I'm
water
sorry.
boy.
You know when I get going, I know.
Let's go back to the Red Sox for a sec. Something I want to mention.
Boy, this show's well organized.
I know. Let's just go back and forth. Kevin Youkilis. I know Frenchie watches a lot of games too, so I don't know if he has anything to say about this, even though the speaker's not on. I've seen, he seems to, I don't know what else to say. He seems to be a little bitchy lately. Am I right, Frenchie, in saying this? No, he's saying no. I can hear him behind the glass. He seems to be complaining more, right? He ran out a couple of, infield ground outs that he thought were close. Really seemed to have gotten enraged and complaining with the umps about the call. Has struck out a couple of times and has really been enraged about that. It almost seems like ever since, what was the incident where he almost got hit in the head and he was about to approach the mound? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Ever since then, there's just something about him that is leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Hey, I love Kevin Youkilis. He's performing above and beyond. But I can't be the only one that's seen this. I kind of wish he'd turn it down a notch and not act like as much of a baby as he's been.
It's funny you say that because that leads us to a whole other topic.
Okay.
The guys on sports radio normally say that baseball players, for some reason, are the most difficult to deal with. And the phone is ringing. That's Kevin Youkilis right now.
Sports show, call you back. Kevin Youkilis.
Kevin Youkilis. Ticked off. No, I also heard, from, some friends of mine that Papelbon's on that kick too. So I wonder if it's a baseball thing. I've heard that through different guys that baseball players are the toughest to approach. In other words, their demeanor and when they get good and when they go from I've heard that guys are great in AAA. They go up to the big leagues and all of a sudden it's a different thing. Can't talk, can't do this,
and
can't do that. So I don't know if it's a culture of
You look
baseball.
at someone like Kurt Schilling or Roger Clemens, you need an ego to perform. And I understand that, and I'm willing to accept that. But I guess it's like you're saying, it's almost like a multiple personality thing. Who are you really? Because you were fine here, and now you're not here. And I'm sure Youkilis is a very nice guy. I don't doubt it. But it's just what I've been seeing during the games, I haven't been liking quite as much, and there's no reason for it.
It's hard for us to comment because obviously we're not beat writers, but let me tell you a quick story, and I know I'm going back to football, but when the Dolphins come to town and play the Patriots, my friend a lot of times, throughout the years, now not as much because we're older, but he always wanted to go to their hotel where they were, to kind of hang out.
Right.
And a lot of people do. They get autographs. It's just like when the Patriots go to another town, people find out their hotel right in downtown Providence. Sometimes they stay at the Westin.
Sure.
The Biltmore a couple times. The Marinos and Don Shulas and stuff weren't approachable. But, regular guys, they go down to the bar, have a drink, and you can maybe, hey, can I have your autograph? But I always tell my buddy, I said, listen, I root for the Laundry. I said, all it's going to take is one guy to piss me off.
Right.
Hey, you go up to a guy, hey, I've been watching you since I was 8 years old. I can't talk to you. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah?
It's a letdown.
I hope you fumble. I hope you drop the ball.
Right,
So I told my buddy,
well,
I don't want to ruin. Not that I think the guys are like angels or heroes, but
what
I'm
the
older now.
possibility is.
Right. If I go there and some guy really just ticks me off, now I'm going to see him in a different light on the field.
Right.
Like the opposite has happened. I've been fortunate to go to the Patriots locker room a few times, and there's been some guys who are real decent. So I'll give you just one example. Adam Vinatieri, not because he grew up a Dolphin fan, but he was a nice guy to talk to you. Would kind of look at you and stuff like that. Kind of a normal human being. I'm just sometimes fascinated. And even though he's a Patriot,
right,
I'd kind of root for him. You know what I mean? Like you see these guys in a different light.
We only have a minute left, so I can't tell you my
Where did
Jim
the 12
Rice
minutes
story.
go?
I had a perfect Jim Rice story to go right along the lines of what you're talking about.
And again, we got a little football. Trent Green. We got some
Yes.
Patriots talk. We'll see if we can get to that next week and be a little more organized.
We have
Thank you
much
for
more
watching.
to talk about. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming. You see it right there, youtube.com, keyword IASS. Please join us if you will. Thanks for watching, everyone.